I want to welcome Michael and Elizabeth Cole from Candle Hill Shepherds in Idaho to the Dog's Way podcast and have a little discussion with them about their breeding program, about breeders in general, and give you some tips on how to find a good, reputable breeder of any breed of dog and talk a little bit specifically about the German Shepherd. So thanks, guys, for making the time today.
Well, thank you very much for having us on.
And
Great to be here, Sean.
And in full disclosure, Elizabeth and I have chatted and emailed and talked over the years. We've actually never met in person, but I kind of feel like I know you after all these years of emailing and, and calling back and forth.
I appreciate it, and you've done such a great job with your training program. We've referred several people to you and always hear back great reports.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing I get about half of my clients are kind of the quote unquote problem dog. So it's always fun to see the really well bred, well taken care of dogs too. It's good to see the good kids too. But in terms of your breeding program out there in Idaho, how long have you guys been doing that?
Well, we've actually been doing it a little over 10 years.
Yeah, that's a long time for anything.
And for me, it's really been a lifetime building up to that. It wasn't a fly-by-night decision, so it feels like much longer. But technically, from our first litter of puppies, it's been over 10 years.
And you were involved in, was it search and rescue before that?
That's right, still am.
And your dogs do a bunch of different things. They're out there doing a bunch of different jobs right now.
That's true. I'm kind of my hobby, of course, is dog training, and I'm always picking up new things. So our dogs go with us as we do that, and it changes year to year. But the search and rescue is probably my favorite because, of course, it's involved in saving lives, and that's so important. And then Schutzhund, agility, AKC obedience. And I keep trying to pick up sheep herding, but I'm trying to fit in time. Just recently picked up therapy work.
That's great. Yeah, the German Shepherd, right? They can do anything.
They can.
And so from when you started out 10 years ago to now, what's the difference in your program? How many dogs do you have now as opposed to how many dogs you have had in your program starting out?
We started out originally with one dog, and we were looking for the dog for search and rescue. We got into the German Shepherds at that point, and then we started eventually breeding because we wanted to be able to reproduce the traits that we really appreciated. We were having a hard time finding them. So we have, in a sense, gone back to our original lines and been able to tighten up and focus on some of the traits that we have found and developed over these years to end up with just the kind of an ideal dog for us.
And what describes that ideal dog?
I want a dog that has really good focus, that looks me in the eye and basically says, what do you want me to do? I like a bonding dog, a dog that bonds with me because that's the fun. The companionship is the fun part, where I have a relationship with the dog. And a dog that learns real quickly. At the same time, I can't have a dog that stresses in a new situation and loses its brain. So to have a dog that can think and relate needs a solid core, a calm center to bring that all together.
And in that old-fashioned language, would that fit all into that capsule of solid nerve, is what they used to say?
That would be a good word, solid nerve. Not easily rattled, not a quick trigger, but thinking. And with thinking, the German Shepherd is a protective breed. So I want a dog that can switch from being best buddy to, when the situation arises, to being able to turn it on and give some serious protection.
And that's pretty rare in a lot of working dogs to have that.
You have to really work to get it.
Right.
If protection comes from a little bit of nervousness, that's where protection comes from, that distrust. So if you have too much of it, you suddenly have a fear biter. So you don't want that. You want that solid core. And so we're constantly tweaking to get back to that calm center.
Right. Now, obviously, this is a family business. You're both involved. Anybody else in the family involved in the program?
Everybody.
They chuckle.
We have 6 children. They grew up doing this. We had a lot of fun playing with puppies. Each of the kids worked their own dogs.
Each of them were also involved in search and rescue. So it has been a real family project. And as they grew older, Zachary developed our first webpage for us. So.
Wow. That's what you want to do. You want to have the young kids develop your technology for you. They know 10 times as much
I put it into that right away.
And they still help as they come home from time to time, can jump in and help. And that's great.
That's great. Well, what a fun family experience to take on a big project like that and then have lots of little projects. Have you, just as an aside, have you found, a lot of clients have told me this as we've been talking about dog training and the principles we sort of talk about in training. I actually just had a client last week say, we used some of your principles with our kids. And I said, whoa, wait, what do you mean? And I said, no, just in terms of the consistent.
More before I had children, but my children have, and they will be super parents. I'll tell you what, because of consistency that you learn. in not contradicting yourself through dog training.
Right.
It totally applies in parenting.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always found that kind of a curious analogy. It's not a perfect analogy, but a lot of good crossover principles for sure.